Hey, hi! Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner, I'm a programmer at TIFF now, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Emma Hunter, a wildly funny person you may have seen co-hosting The Beaverton with Miguel Rivas for 3 seasons, popping up in movies like Goon, Last of the Enforcers, Mary Goes Round, and The Broken Hearts Gallery, or in shows like Letterkenny, Save Me, Mr. D, and How to Buy a Baby. These days, she's playing Nora Finley Cullen on the CBC dramedy Moonshine, which just started airing on the CW in the US and kicked off its 3rd season in Canada this past Sunday on CBC and CBC Gem. It's weird and funny and a little sad, and you should watch it. Emma picked A League of Their Own, Penny Marshall's 1992 sports picture starring Gina Davis and Lori Petty as Dottie Hinson and Kit Keller, 2 sisters who leave the family dairy farm to try out for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League and end up playing for the Rockford Peaches, where Dottie's athletic and organizational skills and Kit's frankly terrifying energy help shape an untested group of women into a proper team. And also Tom Hanks is there. Released in the summer of 1992, it became a touchstone for a lot of young women who saw it at precisely the right time in their lives. Emma was one of them. This is Someone Else's Movie.
It's interesting. I'm Canadian. I grew up watching film, but Gina Davis playing this kind of aggressive, exceptional, also beautiful, which is kind of anti-feminism, but beautiful athlete was incredibly affecting. Like, it affected me in a way that I think to this day, there was like a visceral, I think I was probably kind of in love with her a bit. I'm married to a man, but I think I definitely was like, I love her in that way that you get like real crushes on people you're just sort of worship. And then the end of the film is, we can spoiler, right? This is a spoiler safe
at this point.
So
yeah.
She has this incredible, illustrious career while the boys are away at war. Obviously, the Peaches fill in for the male baseball players. Her husband comes home, and that's a wrap. And the movie ends. Like, he comes home from war, and she goes back. And in the 90s, it was like, you could feel this push and pull between, I love my husband so much, I'm so happy he's here, but I can't do that anymore. And the tragedy of the identity loss. And I think, at 8 or whatever I was, being like, this seems bad, but not having the full, intellectual capacity to process what was actually going on. And then Madonna, who is terrible in it. Oh my God. Anyway. So the why is Gina Davis playing baseball. That's the why.
That's a pretty good why. I was older when I saw it, obviously. I think I would have been 23 or something in 92. And I think I saw it, I may be misremembering, but in my mind, in my memory, it was the day after the press screening for Unforgiven. And so you go from Clint Eastwood's definitive Western to this is an absolutely great sports picture coming from a corner that I did not expect at all.
Wow.
Penny Marshall had just made, I think she'd made Big and then 2 other films in rapid succession that were not big. And it just this was the one where she sort of recaptured her momentum as a filmmaker right. After taking whatever comedies she was offered. And it felt just as important somehow as Unforgiven. Like it was a big, because I saw it with a crowd too. This was like one of those 7 p.m. Wednesday night press screenings and where they invite the press to a public preview and the room just ate it up. It played. And it's like, this is weird to see 2 of the most important movies of this year back to back. And then it took another 10 years for A League of Their Own to really catch up to it. Because right. Unforgiven, rolled into the Oscars and Marshall didn't get the nomination. And there was all the stuff that should have happened for it that didn't happen.
Marshall didn't get a nomination for that? That would make sense with the times.
Yeah, it was completely shut out. And I remember there had been agitation for a Best Supporting Actress nomination for Rosie O'Donnell. Like that was the biggest one at the time. Who is kind of the weird, angry heart of the movie.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think, it was weird. Like Rosie O'Donnell has always been like such a star. And I think that role done by a different person could have filed in under kind of like, the friend. And yeah. Rosie O'Donnell just had this, but that cast was just electric. But yeah, Rosie O'Donnell specifically, I do feel like that was kind of the star moment. Like, who is this hysterical, gorgeous, butch leaning kind of force to be reckoned with? And she and then Rosie O'Donnell became the force that was Rosie. And then And then the Rosie O'Donnell we know now, who's like just the anti-Trump, but still hilarious, sourpuss that we all adore. So yeah, she was, oh my God, she was so funny in that film.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to look back and see the impact that people think it had, right? Because if you saw it at the right point, you remember it forever. But for most people, that was on cable 5 or 6 years later, because it never stopped playing on TBS. It was a perennial film. And so I think it was Gina Davis the last time I saw an interview with her saying it's the movie that most people people keep coming up to her about the most, because Dottie is such an inspiration.
Yeah.
And she is, like, in retrospect, this is 3 years after she won the Oscar for The Accidental Tourist and The Fly, and like, she had an amazing 80s to begin with. Yeah. And then this feels like the culmination of her, like, it's her everything bagel. It's the comedy, it's the drama, it's the pathos, it's the athleticism, it's all the stuff she does. It's the perfect role for her. And so, of course, she's gone on to inspire generations, and we can talk about the sort of the way the film has been reprocessed and reclaimed, because it was immediately grabbed by.
So interesting, though. You're blowing my mind now, because I think of it as this kind of quintessential moment in time that sort of turned the cruise ship around, that was sports movies for boys only. But I guess the world wasn't totally ready and didn't process it like that. That experience happened in retrospect. Is that correct?
I think so.
No way.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, think about it. What was the next one? Bring It On, right? I don't think there is another female-led sports adjacent film.
No, not, I think, one of note that would like quickly come to mind. No, like,
I know that was the surprise. Looking back, and it's just like, really, it didn't instantly change everything. It made money. Like, it was successful. It made $132 million in 1992 dollars, which is pretty good.
Okay.
But no, because it just sort of sputtered out in terms of awards acclaim, I suppose. It just lost its momentum for a little while. And then, I mean, they've been trying to revive the property. There was the 1997 TV movie series that nobody talks about because it was terrible.
That's right. That's right.
I think the pilot for that is included on the last 4K release of A League of Their Own. But then there was also the Amazon series, which was great.
And that was recent, right? That Amazon series
last year, the year before, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the film that it was the project that put all the queerness that floats around this movie, but just never kind of breaks the surface.
Yeah.
And just loads it all back in.
Fantastic.
In a really satisfying way. I mean, the love story in this film is the sisterly love story, which is the hook, right? For the mass audience of 1992 that isn't ready to even consider the fact that Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell might know each other from a different social circuit, shall we say. But watching Lori Petty and Gina Davis just fall into these roles of people who love and hate each other in equal measure, and it all manifests in competition. It's a brilliant spine, and it is apparently based on an actual sister relationship that was the jumping off point for the film, for the fictional story of the Peaches, that there were sisters who played against each other in the original Women's League.
Just got goosebumps thinking about that scene. Oh my God. And then when Kit cries, it's like Kit crying and then Sally Field crying in Steel Magnolias. It's like both women crying. I think about it and I'm going to tear up now, and I put eyeliner on, so I don't want to, but it's incredibly moving. And I can't tell whether it's moving to myself as a young teenager, if I saw those films today, if I would feel that same compulsion to just like emotionally, I don't know, lose my mind. I don't know. I think probably, but I don't know.
I think so. Steel Magnolias is a touchstone for a lot of adult women now who saw it at exactly the wrong time or the right time in their development to just sort of get totally on board with big hair and diabetes.
And on board with big hair and diabetes. I mean, what are you, a jackass?
I know, you have to have a heart of stone.
Lord. This is fun. I'm having a time.
Oh, I'm glad. The Zoom mic just cut out the laugh, which is a shame because I think it's the biggest laugh I've gotten on this podcast ever. But like Chandler Levac uses it as a key moment in emotional development, Steel Magnolias, in I Like Movies, where a film bro, a nascent film bro, learns to be a better person by having a Steel Magnolias poster up in his dorm room. And it's sort of wonderful.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Oh, that film was so good. Sally Field. Yeah.
Yeah. We could do that in the next one. But for this one,
yes, for this one.
like, I mean, it's so strange looking back at it 30 odd years later and realizing like it was pitched as a Tom Hanks vehicle, right? Like this was exactly the point where Tom Hanks could have any role he wanted, and he was the hook. He's the center of the poster. And
I bet he made 3 times as much as all of them combined.
Oh,
like
I'm
I
sure.
bet. Yeah.
But he's giving a performance that is, I promise this is the only time I will talk about the menfolk in this movie, because there really isn't about them. But Hanks knows that, and that's the best part of his performance. Like he is so generous about it.
I was going to say the same thing. And like, I think we sometimes like attribute this angelic kind of aura to Tom Hanks that he definitely didn't ask for, but he just happens to completely and utterly deserve. And, you know, my experience with him in that film is he's this kind of prop that is the catalyst to their reaction to the kind of generic man that's out there. Like, remember that the way we meet the man, the boss, is a drunken piss, and they time him. And I think that's like, it's got to have been intentional, but it's this gorgeous metaphor for them being like, are you done? Can we start? It's like, yes, you know, it's like this beautiful life imitating art thing that happens. But the fact that we meet him like that, and the fact that Tom Hanks really seemed to really lean into that and played that role of this kind of sharpshooter coach, but who, like, these women are just running around him kind of, and he can't keep up. I thought he was exceptional in the role. And it seemed like as an actor, he knew his role too. But maybe you just want to love Tom Hanks, so I'm giving him more credit than he's due. I don't know.
It's probably part of it. But I mean, the other reality is that like he and Penny Marshall both came up, and Gina Davis too. She had a sitcom in the 80s. I always forget about that.
She did?
She did. It lasted a season. I think it was called, no, Angie was a movie she made, but it was some similar title. There was this little window of mega hotness on her, both in terms of how she was perceived, because she was a model, or she was almost a model. And then she went into, she's, you know, the underwear character in Tootsie is how she described her role. Right. But she's so good at that, at handling the comedy. And then she showed up in Fletch for 2 scenes as an assistant. And then I think NBC gave her a show, and it only lasted a season or a quarter of a season or something. It was canceled almost immediately. Yeah. But I was in my teens and had nothing to do on Thursday night, so I watched it. And she's got this incredible comic timing. But she and Marshall and Hanks, because of, you know, bosom buddies and his family ties role, they had all been TV people. And I think that makes you, unless you're a monster, it makes you a better collaborative performer, because, you know, as you well know, right? Like television is not about the person in the chair. It's about everyone.
No. And it really is about, you know, turning your own light off to make sure that somebody else's is shining at the right moment, and being confident to do that, and not trying to sneak stuff in and all that kind of thing. And I think, TV does lend itself, particularly like ensemble television, does lend itself to being a better person when other genres like a feature or, you know, even theater, when those opportunities come up, I just think in general, the more you collaborate. Like I started in theater, and like I just always remember being like, if anyone is ever rude to the stage manager, that's the barometer of if you're a dick or not. And then you go into TV, and if anyone is rude to the third AD, that's the barometer, or the wardrobe person, or like there's just these, you know, and in every project there's always somebody who's like, give me my jacket, and you're like, it's you, you're the jerk. Okay, well, I'll be over there. And I don't know when the decision that you truly sort of matter more as a human being than the volunteer, or when that kind of sets in, or how it sets in, because it's categorically bullshit. But it happens every day. I mean, you've seen it in your career, I'm sure, loads of times. But it's a strange phenomena. I hope it goes away.
Yeah, social media was supposed to equalize everybody, but it really hasn't.
It really hasn't.
It's kind of frustrating. But this is like the definition of an ensemble project too. I don't know that Penny Marshall ever made another movie with this scale of a cast and this many balls in the air and so many pieces that have to pay off.
And that works so cohesively. That doesn't feel like she's bit off more that she can chew, or that we don't really get to know a character properly. They're these fully fleshed out, like really interesting characters that you don't feel like we haven't established it. And some of them are very original. Like, who's like Kit? Who is like Kit? Or who has that kind of stoicism of Dottie coupled with that emotional shut up to her sister? Or like, you know, there's that Madonna character, even though it's Madonna, we've seen versions of that, but it's still her and Rosie's thing. They're these original relationships and original characters, but that don't feel like we haven't dug our teeth into them. Am I rambling? I'm really rambling.
No.
I like this topic.
No. You're going through the list of the characters. We didn't even get like Anne Ramsey, who was over on Mad About You, another TV person, just perfectly pitched to play Helen. And
is that Marla Hooch? What a hitter!
Marlon Hooch is Megan Cavanaugh.
Oh, okay. I love Marla Hooch.
But yeah, it's first base and second base.
Yes.
And it is fun to watch all these tiny little, I guess it's the thing you learn, right? Like if you have 2 minutes, you can give 30 seconds or even 10 seconds to glances between characters and you build a relationship in a given scene. And that was the thing that they carried over in the Amazon series too. This cohesive sense that everybody in there is a person, not just a stand up in the background, like waiting to do their moment. There's always looks and chatter and like Kelly McCormack has this amazing arc where she's just this quiet Canadian maniac who is like the bulldog that they throw at stuff over and over again. And
in the series, in the TV
series, yeah. And by the end of the series, you're just waiting for her moment because you've been like the show has trained you to expect that she'll be the breakout, and then they give it to you in a really satisfying way. This does it in 2 hours and 6 minutes. It's kind of incredible the structuring of all the roles and the editing must have been a nightmare.
What a nightmare! Yeah, for real.
Because this is a film that has to accommodate, John Lovitz doing John Lovitz's 1992 stuff.
God, John Lovitz is in it. I forgot.
Oh, everybody's in. Gary Marshall, of course. David Strathairn is in it. Like I don't remember, but I don't remember seeing her. But Taya Leone was the Racine first base person.
Taya Leone, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I remember, like, I'm only slightly younger than you, but my parents used to let me do this thing in Etobicoke in the 90s where if I was having a sleepover, we could put our pajamas on and we would go to the video store. Remember these days? And you would choose your video. And I would either choose like every time a League of Their every time. And the girl I was like, I don't want to be like, you shut up. This is what we're getting. That or Grease, which I don't really know what I like. Maybe I just like chicks in jackets. I don't know what the connection there was. But yeah, that or Grease, but mostly A League of Their Own. And then I would cry every time. Yeah. And then, hopefully my friend would come back. Often not. What are you going to do?
But that's a way to connect with people, right? Like you're sharing culture. You're sharing things that are meaningful.
Exactly. Or just being a tyrant. But you can be both.
Yeah, sure. I mean, did you play? Was this a baseball thing too for you? Or was it just about watching?
Baseball, but I am not a sports. I'm just not inclined that way. But there was sort of like, it's like anything, how kind of like in your community, there's a thing the kids do. So when I grew up in Etobicoke, the girls played t-ball and then we played baseball. And it was like kind of important in your social circle. And my parents are very British. My dad is Scottish. My mother is like Welsh, so they don't know. Like there's no base. My dad once took me to practice, and in cricket you take the bat with you and you hit the bases. Right. So I did that in a baseball game as I brought the bat, and they were like, "What the hell?" I was just like, "Shit, I've screwed it up again." So yeah. So, but I wonder if like way back in the subconscious, I was like, "I am Dottie." And I am, everybody's obsessed with me. And if I just keep at this thing, I'm going to be great. And then I would see like a dandelion in the field and wander off the pitch. And that was my illustrious baseball career. But I did play, and I played almost no sports. Like I did a little bit of basketball. I'm very short. So, I'm not an athletic-y type. But that's funny. I wonder if there's a connection between Gina Davis and me playing t-ball in Etobicoke in 1994. I don't know.
Hey, it's Norm interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. This week I'll be writing about the latest Blu-ray treasures from Australia's imprint shingle, including Roger Donaldson's The Bounty and Jules Dassin's Uptight. And I've got a look at the first 6 Mission Impossible movies coming down the pike pretty soon as well. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io or find a link at the Simcast Twitter account. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. It's all connected. I mean, you know, you look back and it's the course of your life that's led you to this point it includes all the mistakes. It includes all the misjudgment. And then you just turn around and it's like, no, I did that on purpose.
Yeah, it's true. And it's interesting with Gina Davis specifically, because even when you're mentioning her sort of earlier projects, she was this kind of like erotic, like Thelma and Louise. She was the sex symbol. And she was, I mean, she was desperately beautiful, which is, you know, not her fault or anything to do with, but she was. But then if ever you hear her interviewed now, I mean, she is a cerebral, intellectual, academic type. Like she has a real nerd vibe to her. And I say nerd with affection because I also identify as nerd. But she, you know, sometimes with the sex symbol iconography, there can be a vested interest in kind of dumbing yourself down or intentionally not leaning into those more cerebral issues. And I feel like she was just like, yeah, I used to wear a bra in movies, but I know about this and I'm an Olympic archer and I don't care what you think. Like she is Dottie. I mean, Gina Davis is just the embodiment of like, I'm going to do whatever I want. Screw you guys. I'm smart. So
yeah, she is. She's, I mean, you work with Cronenberg and early enough in your career and you're just going to wander off thinking for the rest of your life, I think. But she was already doing remarkable stuff. I only just found out, actually, that she tested for the Terminator. She was going to play Sarah Connor for like an hour.
I could see that.
Right?
Like, you know, when you're like, it happened the way it should have. I'm like, I don't know. I think that would have been great too. I could totally have seen that. Yeah. Because she's such a physically capable actress as well.
Yeah, I don't know that she could have played I mean, I'm sure she could have played the panic, but my first thought is not her running and hiding for an hour. It's like picking up a bat and swinging it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and the show, I just looked it up. The show was called Sarah, and it was a one and done season series on NBC after she had a recurring role in Buffalo Bill, the Dabney Coleman show, which she also wrote an episode of because she is just that amazing.
She wrote an episode of television at whatever she was, 26. So did Sarah, did it have like 8 episodes and they shot 8 episodes and it aired, or did they do the thing where they sometimes pull it before it gets to episode 3 or something?
It aired
I'm putting you on the spot here. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I got the wiki page right here. Right. January to May 1985. It was scheduled opposite Dynasty, so it tanked.
Oh, brutal programming.
Yeah, but episodes were written by Meryl Marco, who went on to Letterman, and the cast is nuts. Alfre Woodard, Bill Maher, Bronson Pinchot.
Bill Maher. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was created by Gary David Goldberg of Family Ties, and it lasted 1 season and never came back.
It never came back.
But that got her the springboard to features, apparently. And
wow.
It was a legal aid show. She played a lawyer. It was comedy, but she played a lawyer. And then she got movies and just never looked back. Yeah, according to this, she auditioned for Terminator while she was making Sarah, so she had big poofy hair and just didn't.
Oh, and it might have felt too Dynasty, to be honest.
Very possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, right? You end up where you're supposed to be because now she's celebrated for all the stuff she did do.
Yeah, and I mean, an intrepid character in the zeitgeist of actresses like myself who like need that person to exist so that we can do sex scenes and feel like there's more, which we do.
You have to hope.
Yeah. I have a rumor. Can I tell you a rumor?
Sure.
I heard a rumor speak to this, that so there's a scene with Madonna and they all go to this club and they're like having a time and getting a bit buzzed and dancing with the soldiers. And then Madonna goes into this monologue about, I ain't doing no taxi dancing for 5 cents anymore. And she does this whole thing and the camera, like it's shot a little bit weird, as in like, anyway, it might be lore, but I heard that she decided in the moment to kind of improvise this whole thing, which, as you know, in features or television, like it's a bit of unless you're Meryl Streep, it's a bit of a no-no because everybody's like tick, 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 tick. But I heard that, and that they decided for whatever reason to keep it. And she was like vindicated, like, see, I told you I could do what I want. And then she did. But I wonder if that's bullshit or whatever. Because I remember seeing this. It just felt like, I don't know. It was like, she was like, I need more meat to my character, so I'm just going to do what I want, which is also very Madonna.
I wonder. The only thing that holds me back on believing that is that she's not that great a writer, right? Like of
I
dialogue that
love
I,
you. To come up with that on the fly, you're like, no, I don't see that for her.
yeah. Unless I don't remember the scene that clearly. I mean, like, are there a lot of cuts? Did they sort of build around the
No, it's just the
performance?
camera's in a weird place and like it's kind of too high. I think like they were shooting like them dancing, and I just remember thinking it kind of comes like they're not in the. I don't think they're in a medium. Maybe I'm rewriting. I haven't seen the film in a long time, but I remember feeling like the camera's not in the right place. But I mean, the other thing is, if they liked it, they would have reshot it and said, "Can we do it again?" But it is also Madonna, so maybe she'd be like, "Screw you, no, I'm going to my trailer." Um, um, I don't know. I feel like I actually don't hate Madonna, but I just feel she got so lucky being around all these like true actors and kind of was like, yeah, I'm one of them. And I'm like, well, you're not. You're not. You're very lucky and they're all exceptional. And you need May. Like you need May. All the way May. You need all the way May. And you know, Madonna did it justice, but I just I think maybe that story, that rumor that she'd kind of taken liberties, my buttoned up British actor sensibility is like, how dare you? And made me sort of dislike her in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she was not having the best time in the press at the time when they made it either. I remember that because it was right after Dick Tracy and all the other stuff. Truth or Dare had just come out. People were kind of going after her in general. I mean, she's always been a target for tabloid journalism.
I completely eclipsed Dick Tracy as a character in my life. And Dick Tracy was like everything for a year. Remember that everybody at Halloween was being Dick Tracy. The Dick Tracy soundtrack was running our like the audio of our life. Dick Tracy. Like who cares? Why did we care about Dick Tracy? I'm getting off topic. I'm bad at this.
It was post Batman. That's all. I mean, you know, anytime there's a pop culture thing, just look 2 years behind it and see what the real motivator was, what the real driver is. And Dick Tracy's pretty. Like it's nice to look at.
Yeah, and we all like a little bit of sex on the screen.
Sure. Sondheim wrote some songs. That's a plus.
Right.
So I guess there's that.
You're very knowledgeable.
This is all I do. This is my whole world.
God,
I'm locked in this bubble.
Doing it. You got to get to your new house. We got to dial this up. This is impressive.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts. But I was going to say the one other thing about Madonna is the other piece of lore is that, you know, Gina Davis was a late addition to the cast. It was originally going to be Deborah Winger. And supposedly Winger dropped out because Madonna was cast.
Oh my God, no way. So it's so funny because you know how it works with projects. The lead is secured, and then usually the sort of tertiary characters are cast second, often pending the approval of the lead. But in this case, was she the lead cast Debbie, and then Madonna was cast, and she threatened to, and she said, I'm out, or was Madonna cast first?
Well, the story is that Penny Marshall originally wanted Demi Moore, but Demi Moore was pregnant. So she couldn't train. She couldn't take the part at all.
That's why you can't get pregnant.
Well, we know now. And then Deborah Winger was cast and spent, this is again right off of Wikipedia, but it is based on a Bob Costas interview with Marshall in 2013, that Deborah Winger was cast as Dottie and spent 3 months training with the Chicago Cubs so she could do the moves, and then dropped out of production 4 weeks before principal photography was set to start, later saying that the casting of Madonna was the reason for her decision.
Oh my gosh. See, why do we all have this chip on our shoulder with Madonna? I don't even know why I have it, but I have it. That's fascinating. And then Gina Davis was like, listen, I got this, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I can believe that Gina Davis could grab a mitt and just march onto the field and shoot.
This chick, I'm telling you. What's Gina Davis's personal life? Did she get married and have kids? She did, right? She had
did. I want to say she has
a daughter.
She married. Did she marry the security guy, Gavin? What's his name? Yeah, Gavin DeBecker. Then she married Rennie Harlan. They were together for 4 years. This is fascinating. According to her wiki page, because it's all I have now, is that she dated in 1998. She started dating a craniofacial plastic surgeon and allegedly married him in September 2001. They have 3 children, and in 2018 they filed for divorce. And so they were together for 20 odd years, but the marriage, the details of the marriage were weird. And yeah, I don't fully understand
That's
exactly
so
why
strange.
this
And
is
she had
written
three
this way.
children with the guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
things don't
keep
always
it a
work out.
secret?
And she was married to a restaurateur in the 70s and separated in the 80s, divorced. And I know she married Jeff Goldblum, of course.
She's been married 4 times.
Yes.
Maybe that's why the plastic surgeon, she wanted it on the DL, because she's like, I don't do this well when people know about it. I'm just going to keep it on the quiet.
Nah, never. She looks like
we
she
don't
looks.
let you do that. That's so interesting. The drama.
She's just had such a fascinating career, and I mean, I know that they had created some separation between the show and the film. There was no way to get her for the Amazon series. I think everybody wanted her. Like the fans, the audience wants to see those actors come back, but there's no way to do it. There's no satisfying way, right? Like either they don't look like their older versions, or they play completely different characters. Rosie O'Donnell shows up in the series as the queer bar owner, or the owner of the queer bar, who is also gay herself. And it's great because it feels like they thread the needle. They found a way to do it in a way that comments on the old thing, speaks to the new thing, addresses the bridge of it all. And I think that's all they need. But I know they're also doing, I think it's 4 episodes to wrap up the second season, because Amazon canceled it. But Will Graham and Abby Jacobson figured out a way to do 4 episodes that apparently wrap up the whole story somehow, which...
So it was 1 season, and then it did get a second season. But
it's a very limited second season. I don't know
how TV works now. I don't understand why things go and why things don't. Like, you think that would be like a slam dunk and resonate with everybody? I mean, although I didn't watch it, but I didn't know it existed. I was in a fog in Nova Scotia with my kids doing Moonshine, so I don't know.
It's good. Catch up to it. It's on Prime.
Oh my God. Absolutely. I need to watch that. I wish I'd gotten to it sooner so I could yell about it getting canceled to somebody. Yeah. Not that anybody's listening to me, but
nobody listens to anybody anymore about the canceling.
No.
And it's kind of weird to come to the closing on this, because I've been trying to think of ways in which it could connect to the work that you do, but you do generally have a Lori Petty level, like a Kit level of enthusiasm in a lot of the work you do. So is there something specific from A League of Their Own that you have borrowed or lifted or stolen? Was there ever a moment where you just kind of wanted to go for a specific quote?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. Is the question what has informed your life from the film, or is it what is your favorite quote from the film?
I mean, really, it can be both. It's usually, have you ever, pulled back and relied on it in performance? Is there some place that you snuck it in? Like Ennis Esmer told me once that he managed to work the Amigo Salute into 4 different projects before they let it go and kept it in the edit. So that's Ennis. That's Ennis and 3 Amigos. He will not be denied. That sort of thing. Like, is there a thing where you look back and see? I mean, what I think of is on the Beaverton, the way that you would sell the "Let Me Finish" sequence with this manic, like this almost self-aware, delusional glee at being allowed to keep pushing. And the way that you would pop when you sold that bit, it's just like, I see that in Lori Petty's thing about walking faster than Gina Davis when Kit tries to outrun her.
Oh my God, the walking faster scene. You're so right. And I can't believe you remember Let Me Finish. Let Me Finish used to give me so much joy. And now I'm in my real life. But I would have to say that the amount of times in my personal and professional life that I will say there's no crying in baseball, that has absolutely nothing to do with the original meaning of the sentiment.
Right.
It'll be like, I'm just wondering if should we get a bottle of Pinot Grigio or should we go home? And I'll just go, there's no crying in baseball. And everybody knows, I guess, she means get the wine. Like, I feel like if you just say that, everybody else will fill in the blanks for sort of like do the more sort of brazen thing, do the ballsy thing. So it's just it's a great sentiment in general. Pull up your pants, bootstraps, that sort of notion. But it has this sort of, feminist angle, because it's Tom Hanks yelling at a bunch of people who don't listen to him, a bunch of women who don't listen to him. So I feel like there's no crying in baseball it's always good to say it. It makes everybody happy.
Yeah, it's a mantra.
It's a mantra. Total.
It can be whatever you want it to be, but it's also, you sort of, and also I think saying it in a measured tone of voice that way is completely counter to the message of this, like this panic flustered idiot trying to make sense of the world.
Totally. totally. And remember, Dottie doesn't decide that Kit's sort of competitive speed walking is ridiculous. She does it. I think we've all been there where we're like, this is stupid. Stop it. All right, let's go. Fine. It's happening, and off you go. So yeah. Oh, I love that film so much. Thank you for indulging me with this. This is just a delightful experience.
Are you kidding? This is the service I provide to people. And honestly, like, joy is becoming an increasingly rare thing. And, now more than ever, let's talk about movies whenever we can.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm so on board with that.
My thanks to Emma Hunter, who you can see right now in the 3rd season of Moonshine, airing Sunday nights on CBC and streaming on CBC Gem. In the US, the 1st season just started airing on the CW. Thanks also to Joanna Landsberg. She knows what she did. You can find Emma on Twitter at Emma Huntress, all one word, EMMAHUNTRESS, and you can find A League of Their Own on Blu-ray and DVD from Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. It's also available on 4K in the first Columbia Classics set, which also includes 3 episodes of that earlier TV series I mentioned. And it's streaming on Crave and the CTV app in Canada and on Netflix in the US, and available to rent or buy on various VOD platforms in the US and Canada. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/Semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 44 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it, or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps. It truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, wear a mask if you go out, get your booster when you can. I'll see you next week.